Hey everybody, it's Zach with Infernal Tool Technologies, and today we're going to be talking about robotics in construction. So let's just get right into it. I've been doing some research on this for quite some time now, and it's a direction that I want to take my company way down the road. But I think that we are starting to see the beginnings of robotics in the construction industry. And in some places, we can see it happening where a lot of the times that they're using them out in the field is for doing surveillance. They'll have robots actually just rolling through a place and checking with radar and LiDAR, different circumstances, and also reporting back to people in the office different on-site safety stuff, and which is cool. Like being able to have, especially like if you're in an industrial setting and it's a dangerous place, if you can send like a rover in and you can check out the place before people go in, or even if there's potentially harmful chemicals, you can send these robots in. They can test the air quality and they can go in and really make sure that it's safe for people to get in there. And I think there's a lot of advancements to be made in this field with just that aspect of it, with having a robot go in there and just test places and check up on things and surveil different work sites. But some of the cooler stuff that I'm more interested in is actual robots doing the work that it can replace some people from doing work that's very difficult. And we're already seeing it. Some companies are starting the push towards using robots in the workplace, and some of them have been with demolition. I've seen a few different designs where there's a big machine with multiple arms that can actually break down walls, and then there's also other machines that are just drilling things apart, and it goes all the way up to like excavators. They have remote operated excavation systems where you don't actually need an operator in them. They can you just set them in a zone and you can get them going and they'll work autonomously, which I don't really know exactly where they're at with that, but the advancements that we're making so fast, I'm sure we're not far away from just being able to set that robot up, an excavation robot, and have it be autonomous out in an open patch of field, and it can dig a certain trench for you or even a whole basement. So that's pretty cool to see that happening. And the demolition aspect too. You can send these robots in and they can do the dangerous work where as long as people are trained properly, they should be able to do the demolition. But without having to even take the people's lives into danger, you can just send these robots in and demolish it, and they don't have to take a break. I don't know the exact specs on battery operation and charging and things like that and how they run. So maybe they do need to cool down right now. Maybe the cooling systems on these robotics aren't up to snuff yet. But we'll get there. And some of the cooler stuff that I've been really thinking about that I think could just be amazing in the field is having people be able to control these robots remotely, and they can be specified for certain tasks. So, like I said, they already have some out that are for demolition, but if we could even move it to the point where there could be robots that just cut material all day, if they're able to cut 2x4s and plywood, maybe even metal, all different types of materials, and they can just switch in and out of different blades. That would be pretty cool, and just maybe have an on-site technician, just a person there to watch and make sure that the robot is running properly, and if it has any dull machinery on it, that it could be updated. So it would bring. I remember my grandfather was a machinist, and back when he was working, he that was a pretty common job back then. And now you don't really. It's still out there, but it's not as common anymore. And I think that sort of part of the workforce would actually be coming back then. You would have people there working on these machines, a machinist standing there and making sure that it's operating properly. But other things that could be pretty cool is maybe with drone technology, you can have actual materials delivered at different levels of different floors that's a little bit tough. Like we'd have to actually come up with big drones that can actually carry weight. But could you imagine a world where we have like maybe like a helicopter type drone the size of that can actually have like a claw or something and it can pick up a bunch of 2x4s or plywood and just hold it up to the floor and then people can unload it. That would be pretty amazing, not having to set up cranes because crane systems are extremely difficult to set up and they're slow moving and very costly. Uh, Not to say that this service wouldn't be costly, but I think it would be better. Honestly, the I've always thought the crane operation was just something that needed to be improved upon. It's all we really have right now to build, especially very tall buildings. But if we could have some sort of technology that can fly around the work sites and pick stuff up and move it to other sides, just even pick up big materials just to place into place, like HVAC workers need the air conditioning units placed on top of buildings. If you could just have that thing fly up and drop it off right on top of the building, that would be pretty outstanding. That'd be a cool thing. But even I saw in this article that I'm looking at right here, it's by the Robot Report, and it talks about a couple things. It has a company here it talks about in Australia, Hadrian X, and what they're doing is actually they are building brick foundations and brick buildings without any humans. They actually just have a machine that drives up and it just builds the brick wall. I don't know how advanced it is, but that's pretty cool. I mean, that's taking away a lot of jobs in the bricklaying industry. And that's something I want to talk about too, that this advancement in technology is going to really disrupt the workplace. It's going to take a lot of jobs away. And I know, especially right now in 2021, jobs is just a huge topic. It is a hot topic, and we are getting jobs reports every week, and people are just going crazy over it. And this would only make it worse in the short term, but in the long term, it could be really great because if you've watched any of my other videos, I talk about how the kids nowadays are learning STEM, which is pushing people towards technology and science. And once that group of people get into the workforce, I think then it'll kind of level off because they'll have a bunch of people that are going to be working behind the screen and remotely and actually controlling these things, and it's not going to be so bad. But a lot of the people nowadays that work in the construction field, it's going to be really, really difficult if they don't adapt, if they just want to keep everything exactly the same, because the world is changing around them, and if you do not adapt, then unfortunately, I think you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I work with a bunch of guys that they, even in their 40s, but 50s, they're really stuck in their ways and they've worked a certain way their entire life. And there's so many things happening now that I think it's really going to disrupt their lives if they don't get to retirement soon, especially when it comes to the money system. There's this huge push right now towards banning cash. And I'm not going to discuss if that's a positive or negative on this video. Maybe I can make another video on that. But let's just say if we did remove cash, which probably will happen, that's gonna disrupt the construction industry immensely, and that's gonna change a lot of people that I work with, their habits. I mean, a lot of people work side jobs off the books for cash, and they only do it because they get paid cash and they don't have to report it. And that's going to totally disrupt that entire market. And so back to the robotics, though, like I was saying, that it's going to disrupt the industry. Like this machine here is a perfect example. All the bricklayers that would be on this job, it's removing all of them and only having a few technicians and machinists or people behind the screen actually just controlling the machine. So that could be bad in the short term, unfortunately. But let's look through here for a second. I'm looking at this article, and they're talking about autonomous equipment. And autonomy is a hot topic right now, and I think it's pretty cool. A little bit off topic, but not far off. Autonomous vehicles are a huge talk in this industry right now, and especially with Tesla coming out with their vehicles, and they're testing the autonomy of some of their vehicles. I honestly believe we need to push this faster. We need to get autonomous vehicles on the road because I notice it, and I'm sure all of you notice it, but people are just totally wrapped into their phones. Not even just the passengers, it is the drivers. People are staring at their phones while driving on the thruway, and it is terrible. It's absolutely terrible, and people can't stop it. It's becoming a huge problem, and people just can't look away from the screen. So we need to make autonomy a part of this industry, and just for people's safety, honestly, just so people can look at their screen while they're getting from point A to point B. You don't have to be rich and have a chauffeur service to have that luxury anymore. If we have autonomous vehicles, it can get into the hands of working class people, and I think it's going to save a lot of lives. But that's another thing with technology, is that once we start putting autonomy onto the roads, that's going to open up another can of worms, where if the technology isn't perfected, it could lead to a lot of different problems, where maybe these vehicles have a malfunction and it causes an accident. It could even lead to more accidents in the short term. But all these things that I'm talking about in this video are projections for long term. And whenever we make advancements in anything, there's gonna be some turmoil. And this is gonna be the topic, I think, for the next few years. We're gonna be switching over to a lot of autonomous machinery, vehicles, and different systems, and it's going to be really hard for the masses and people in their everyday life to really adapt to this and have the machinery adapt to real world examples, because people are imperfect. We live in an imperfect world, and that's just a fact. And we're going to have to figure out how to get technology up to snuff to where it can deal with those imperfections. But in this article, the autonomous equipment that they're talking about is actually like transportation vehicles. So like I was talking about with the drone being able to transport up and down flights, they're speaking of like different, like transporting debris, maybe from one part of the job site to another, but also from the job site and leaving the job site, maybe to the dump. You can have the machine pull right up, you fill it up with all your debris, and it just goes. It goes to the dump and it takes care of it. But also materials, different lumber yards, they could start adapting into this system, and they can actually have autonomous delivery. So that's going to lead to less drivers, but I think that it's something it's a move that needs to happen, because we need to start shifting people from these jobs that we don't have to do to jobs that are going to advance us so much faster. Once we can pull people away from all these labor jobs, it's going to really just advance us, our economy, and just the whole world in general. People are going to be able to focus their efforts on a whole different world. Like, we are entering a virtual world. I mean, look at me right now. I'm speaking to all you guys right now, and people are doing this every day. They're having virtual meetings. They're now controlling stuff virtually. They can have rovers into construction sites right from home, and so a lot of our efforts are going to be, and this actually is going to be a great thing too, because people are starting to get really, really better at multitasking. And when you're stationary at home in an environment that you've built for yourself, or in an office that's a good environment, it opens up the capabilities of multitasking. So you can be controlling these things, and then if autonomy comes into the works, you can set them up to succeed, the robotics or the machinery that's out in the field, and you can move on to another task. and come back and forth and switch between them, so we can all be getting more stuff done. Honestly, we can start communicating more, because I know personally on the job site, I'm just not able to communicate sometimes with the people in the office. I'm just in it. I'm dirty. I got tools in my hands. I'm just wearing a mask maybe or something. There's so many situations that I run into where I physically just cannot communicate with the people in the office, and it could be an emergency for all I know. They could be telling me, wait, don't do what you're about to do, but I'm already in it, and I'm not answering their call. So it would open up communications dramatically, and it's just a good direction that we're going with everything. It's going to be painful for these delivery drivers. Um, Even the whole cross country delivery with semi trucks, that's a hot topic right now too, where they're trying to make that autonomous, where at least like on the long stretches of throughway from city to city, it's just going to be autonomous semis driving. And then a driver, once it gets to the city, will pick up the load and drive through the city to the specific places that they're dropping off the whatever they're delivering. But on throughways for long stretches of time, they're trying to make that autonomous, and they've already tested it, and it's pretty much a go in some places. I know down in like Arizona, Southern California to Texas, that whole area has just been booming with that and testing it and putting it to market. So that's just the direction we're going with it. People who drive semis should really think about maybe trying something else. Not to say to quit your job as a semi driver, but just open up your options to where you have another place to go. If unfortunately you do lose your job to autonomy. But yeah, the other parts of this article talk about like imaging and small robots, being able to actually track different parts of the job site. Even like I brought up at the beginning of the video, if dangerous chemicals are being used, or we're disrupting with gas lines and certain things, or even to thermal imaging, you can see the robotics can actually see all this stuff in real time. Like maybe area isn't insulated properly. You live in a really cold climate and you have to insulate heavily, and it could pick up on a spot that isn't perfectly insulated. So even inspectors could not even have to come to the job in some scenarios, and they can inspect certain things. Because back to my work, in a lot of towns that we work in, we have to have inspections on certain things with plumbing, electrical, framing, insulation. These inspectors will actually be scheduled and have to come to the job site, and it holds up our jobs. We have to literally wait for them to come and approve certain things before we close up walls. Well, this could speed up the process, where even companies could have potentially their own thermal software or robotics, and they can just actually send the video or paperwork over to the inspector office, and show them and get approval quicker. That could be potentially something. But also on the safety aspect, this imaging could actually see maybe if there's a gas leak. It can test the air quality at all times and make sure that people who are working or either living in the space aren't in harm's way. So yeah, that's pretty much all this article has gone off of so far. It's some pretty basic stuff, which is great. I mean, we got to start pretty simple in the robotics realm. I mean, I'm not a robotics engineer by any means. It's just something that really fascinates me, and is a part of my company that I want to push towards and learn more about. And hopefully you guys will follow me on this journey, because I'm really starting from the ground floor right now. If you get a chance, maybe check out my Instagram. It's just Infernal Tool Technologies. And that's just me out in the field at my job I'm at today, as just a carpenter. And I just talk about some certain things that I'm feeling, and I just started that page as well, so maybe head on over there and check it out. And you'll see a different side of things. These are going to be more long-form videos where I can open discussion to everybody, and I really want to build a community around all this stuff that's going to be happening. I mean, from augmented reality to virtual reality to robotics to the construction industry as a whole, what's changing in that? Maybe even materials and different products that are just changing, because I know for myself, stuff's changing all the time. I mean, I do not get a light fixture that I don't have to read the manual on, because it's just something's different about it every single time. And that's going to happen with all materials and everything. So maybe we can learn together. You guys can maybe share some insight on certain things that I don't know, because I'm fresh to this world that's coming, technology. I used to not be a fan of technology in any way. I wanted nothing to do with it, even for a phone. I didn't have a phone for a long time because I just thought it was a distraction. But unfortunately and fortunately, we are moving into this world of technology. And I've just decided to embrace it wholeheartedly. And anybody else who's embracing it, I would love for you to join this community. Like the page, leave a comment, like I said, down below. Just talk about maybe something in your industry. It doesn't have to be construction. I know I'm probably speaking to a lot of people in the construction industry, but share your industry. If it's the medical industry, maybe robotics could be pretty cool in that too. I'm sure there's so many aspects where robotics can work in the medical industry. When it comes to precision surgery, where you don't have somebody who potentially drank too much coffee in the morning and slips and makes a mistake, the robotics could be pinpoint on exactly what needs to happen during surgery. So I don't know too much about the medical field, so share your insight when it comes to that, because I think we all need to open our eyes to the world that's in front of us, because there is some dramatic changes that are going to happen. I know for myself personally, I have put a cover over my eyes. I put blinders on to technology so many times. But now, like I said, I've started to embrace it, and there is just so much coming our way. So much. Like in this video, I've tackled a few things where jobs are going to be lost, and people are going to have to transition to different jobs. That's just a fact. That is an absolute fact. That's happened all throughout history, and we're just at another turning point. We're in another revolution, basically. There was the Industrial Revolution, and now we're in the tech robotics revolution. And we are at the beginning stages of it. And that's kind of why I wanted to start this company and these videos for everybody, because I just want us all to grow together and learn together and just be at the front of all this. If you can really take advantage of all the changes that are going to be made, you can actually change your life and your family's life and the family that comes after you, their life as well. A lot of these things, if you can see them coming, you can take advantage of it. And there's so many industries out there. And I hope I'm speaking to a lot of people. And I hope that you find those areas of your industry where innovation can happen. Because at least me, I've just always had ideas come to my mind. I've always been a dreamer. And now I've decided to become a doer. And I hope that you become a doer too. I hope that you find something in your industry that can be innovated, that can be changed. Because I'm just starting out, and it's a hard journey, and I've talked myself out of so many things. And so I can relate with any of you that have talked yourself out of great ideas that you've had, just out of fear, because there's so much fear. I mean, it costs money to bring ideas to market, and that's just a fact. It does. You can find deals and you can be smart about doing stuff, but at the end of the day, it's going to cost you time and money to come up with whatever it is that you come up with. But you'll never know if it's the next great innovation or new technology unless you just go and make something. That's what I'm trying to do with Infernal Tool Technologies, and I hope you all follow that. I really do. I'm trying to reach people and get out there and just start these conversations, because I'm going to be talking a lot about what I'm doing in my business, but also I'm going to be talking about the economy as a whole and where we're going in the future. But I would love to start this conversation with people and build a community around what is happening, because I just can't stress this enough. So many things are going to be changing in the next few years and the next couple decades. And I don't know what the people that I'm talking to, what your age range is, but depending if you're young, you have a long ways to go. And I'm young and I have a long ways to go. And I'm going to see a lot of different changes, hopefully. And some of them are going to be scary and some of them are going to be great. But if we're all here putting out our ideas and creating things for good to help people, then I think we can actually inspire some great change in the world. And it all just starts with one person. And I'm trying to be that one person to spark a flame in you guys that, like I said, check my Instagram out. I'm just a carpenter who decided to start a corporation. And I have a lot of plans for the future and where I want this company to go. And who knows, maybe we can collaborate one day if you guys have great ideas or you're inspiring people. But yeah, I just want to be kind of that spark for some people to let you know that you don't have to be this highly educated person that went to Harvard to start doing something today and make dramatic changes in this world. Honestly, people who make the biggest changes of the world are the people who have gone against the grain. I know I have. I went to school and didn't get the greatest grades, and I did not go to college. I just went right into the workforce. But I've always been a reader, and I've always been interested in different technologies. And if any of you guys or girls can relate with me and feel what I'm saying, just leave a comment below and tell me about problems in your industry, ideas that you might have that could change it, and maybe even leave some worries that you have about the industry that you're in. Maybe you don't like what you're doing right now and you want to make some changes. Well, talk about it. Let's start this conversation, because when you branch out to people, it's amazing how much that can change your life. You can talk to one person tomorrow or today or whenever you're watching this, and that person can change your life. I know I've met a few people in my life that if I never met them, my life would be in a totally different direction. So join the community, like the page, please share this video. Sharing this video out of everything just helps me the most, because I just want people to see what I'm doing here and what I have to say, and keep people up to date on the research I'm doing. Like I said, I'm just a regular guy reading some stuff I'm interested in, and hopefully you're interested in. So like I said, just leave a comment, check out my Instagram so you can see me in my real life. And I look forward to the future of this page and this company and the people that I meet through it. Thanks for watching tonight. Good night.